I figured out a quick and easy way to make all your little zines into a book. Let's dive in and I'll show you how. So I had the idea the other day to combine some of my smaller zines. And the reason I wanted to do that was sometimes I want to make a longer zine without having to add a bunch of staples or make things extra complicated. So I thought if I could figure out a way to combine these all together, I could expand the pages, and I also thought that would just be really fun. So I'm going to walk you through how I did this. I first started with a piece of either cardstock or watercolor paper, just something a little heavier. And I measured around my zines. And so I think I have about 4 zines here. And so I just simply measured around that. I made a little bit of a spine there that you can see how I folded that. And then I grabbed just some fun paper that I had, and I'm just gonna simply glue this to the heavier paper. I'm just using a glue stick because that's all I have out. Of course, you can use something a little more heavy duty if you'd like, but I'm just keeping this exercise pretty quick and easy. I'm just gonna put it on the outside of that heavier paper just to line it. You don't have to use any paper on the outside, but I just think it adds a fun element. And of course, I would also love to just create my own cover sheet with some bright colors or whatever, but I happen to have this black and white paper laying around, so I grabbed that, and I just thought it would be a really good contrast against the more colorful zines that I tend to make. So each of these zines are just done on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I have many videos on how I've created these, so if you want to look back and reference those. But they fold down to about 2 3/4 inches by about 4 inches. And so by the time we finish this little book cover that we're doing, it's going to come out to about 3 inches by 4 1/4 inches. So it's still quite small and compact. And I haven't played around with this enough to know like how many I could get in here, but I imagine as long as I make that spine wide enough to hold the thickness of all my zines together, you could make a really thick book here. So feel free to explore that. I think that would be really fun. So once I get the paper wrapped around, I go back and just kind of trim any extra that is around and just make sure that that thicker paper can bend okay. Clearly, I'm not following any bookmaking rules here. I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go, because I figure something that I'm making like this is just, it's kind of just a low-key fun project. But I would imagine you can really take this to the next level if you know more about bookbinding and putting pages together and whatnot. You could really explore this. So if you do that, please let me know. I'd love to hear how it turns out for you. All right, so then as I was figuring this out, I figured that I'm going to have to combine it with some kind of yarn or string or something to hold the pages together. And that's going to require me making a little bit of a slit on the spine of the book, because that's where the string is going to kind of dig in and hold. So I'm just taking my X-Acto knife here, again, just eyeballing things and just making a little bit of a slit, a vertical slit on the top and the bottom of this cover. All right, and then once I have that complete, I'm gonna put my zines inside and just make sure everything fits okay. And then regarding the string that I am gonna use, this is all that I had available in my studio at the time, and so I try not to overthink it and just used what I had on hand. This is just like a thin, pretty flexible cord that I'm using. You can use a lot of different things, I could imagine. You probably don't want something too thick or too stiff, so try a couple different things out. But how I'm going to begin here is just putting the string through the first slit, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail on the outside because I'm going to have to circle back to that at the end and tie off the string so it all holds together. And here I just went back and made that slit just a little bit wider, and you will see why here. So I'm just going to open up my first zine, just anywhere within the zine, it doesn't matter which page, and I'm going to pull the string through and then through that slit on the top. and then bring the string down along the spine in the back and pull it up into my next zine. And again, there's probably other ways to do this, and maybe I'll play with this a little bit more, but this is the first way I came up with and it worked, so I just went with it. Okay, and then moving on to the next zine. I actually got this idea. It's very similar to like a Midori Traveler's Journal where you can put in different journals within one leather cover. And so this is somewhat similar to that. And I just love this idea because then you can kind of take out your zines if you'd like. You can replace them. You can add new ones. Just kind of a fun idea here. All right, so once I have that string kind of woven through each of my zines, I'm just gonna make sure everything's aligned pretty well and then give an extra little tug on the string just to make sure everything's secure. And then I'm just simply gonna tie these two ends together and then we'll be done. So this project has got me really thinking about other ideas that I can do with my completed zines, especially when the zines that I create are all along the same topic. I think it would be really great to combine them and make them into a little bit more of a substantial gift or project for other people to enjoy. If you do anything like this or have any ideas, feel free to share them. I would love to learn more about this. All right, so once I cut that string off and it's nice and secure, I have this cute little book here. And one thing I like about doing a cover like this is just it's a little bit more sturdy and the pages will be a little more protected. And then you have this like several page extended zine, and I just think it's kind of a fun idea. So feel free to play around with this and reach out and let me know how it goes. Cheers everyone, thanks for watching.